The English Channel never sleeps. Even in the dead hours before dawn, the water churns with ancient violence, grinding stones against iron, salt against rust, life against the machinery of war. In early June 1944, those dark waters hold more than history. They hold death in chains and triggers, nestled against the French coastline in fields of silent steel. Lieutenant Commander James Mac McAllister stands on the deck of HMS Peregrine, a converted minesweeper turned staging vessel, watching the horizon where France waits like a locked door. He's 32 years old, but his hands look 50, scarred, calloused, fingernails permanently darkened by grease and cold. Around his neck hangs a St. Christopher medal his wife gave him 3 years ago. He hasn't taken it off since. "Sir." The voice belongs to Petty Officer William Hendricks, 24, lean as a whip, eyes perpetually bloodshot from too many dives and not enough sleep. "Weather's turning. Command says we've got maybe 4 hours of workable conditions." Mac doesn't look at him. He's counting ships on the horizon. 73. 74. Each one carrying men who believe the water ahead is being cleared. Each one trusting that men like Mac and Hendricks are making the impossible possible. "How many sectors left?" Mac asks. 12 confirmed minefields. Maybe more. Jerry's been busy. The German defensive network along the Normandy coast is a masterpiece of paranoia. Thousands of teller mines, contact mines, pressure mines, all waiting in the shallows like seeds of apocalypse. Some are chained to the seabed. Others float just beneath the surface, invisible until a landing craft's hull kisses the trigger. Each one can split a boat in half, turn 30 men into red mist and screaming. Mac finally turns to Hendricks. "Get the team suited up. Full rigging. And bring the lamp." Hendricks hesitates. "Sir, if Admiral Cunningham finds out we're still using that thing." "He won't. He'll have us scrubbing bilges until the war's over." "Then we better not get caught." "The lamp isn't in any manual. It isn't in any supply manifest. Officially, it doesn't exist." 3 weeks ago, in a workshop in Portsmouth, Mac and a half-drunk electrical engineer named Davies cobbled together something that shouldn't work, a waterproof lamp housing fitted with a filtered red lens and powered by a modified aircraft battery. The theory was simple. Most naval mines use photoelectric cells that trigger on sudden changes in light. White light, especially bright white light, could set them off prematurely. But red light at specific wavelengths? The triggers can't see it. Davies called it spectrum blindness. Mac called it probably suicidal. But after 3 successful night dives, 3 minefields cleared without casualties, Mac stopped questioning and started believing. The lamp sits in a locked crate below deck, wrapped in canvas like contraband. Because that's what it is. Using unregulated equipment in combat operations is a court-martial offense. But Mac stopped caring about regulations the day he watched HMS Osprey hit a mine 200 yards from shore, the explosion lifting the entire vessel out of the water before folding it in half like paper. 62 men aboard. 4 survivors. He remembers the screaming. The way the water burned with diesel fuel. The smell of cooked metal and something worse. "Get it," Mac says quietly. "We dive in 30 minutes. Below deck, the dive team assembles in silence. 6 men total: Mac, Hendricks, Chief Petty Officer Robert "Bulldog" Sullivan, able seaman Peter Rourke and James Finch, and the new kid, Seaman Thomas Brennan, 19 years old, fresh from training, still thinks war is heroic. They pull on their gear with the efficiency of ritual. Rubberized dry suits that smell like industrial decay, lead-weighted belts, rebreather rigs that recycle exhaled breath to avoid telltale bubbles on the surface. Each man carries a knife, wire cutters, a canvas bag for detonators, and a prayer. Mac straps the lamp to his chest harness. It's heavier than it looks, 12 pounds of battery, housing, and hope. The red lens gleams dully in the low light of the hold. Brennan stares at it. "That's it? That's what keeps the mines from blowing." Maybe, Mac says. Or maybe we just haven't been unlucky yet. Jesus Christ. Not down there, he isn't. Bulldog Sullivan grins around a cigarette. Down there it's just you, the cold, and the bastards who want you dead. Sullivan is 41, a veteran of the Mediterranean campaigns, with a face like a clenched fist and a voice rough as gravel. He's defused more mines than anyone in the Royal Navy still breathing. When he speaks about the water, men listen. Rules are simple, Sullivan continues, looking at Brennan. Stay close to Mac. Don't touch anything that isn't marked safe. If you see a mine, you stop. You breathe. You wait for Mac to light it up. And if the lamp fails— It won't, Mac interrupts. If it fails, you swim sideways and pray you're faster than the shock wave. Brennan's face goes pale. Ignore him, Hendricks says, checking his rebreather valves. Bulldog just likes scaring the new guys. The lamp works. We've done this before. 3 times, Brennan says. You've done this 3 times. Which is 3 more than anyone else. Hendricks grins, but it doesn't reach his eyes. We're pioneers, kid. Or idiots. History will decide. The clock on the bulkhead reads 4:17. The tide is turning. In 13 hours, the largest amphibious invasion in human history will begin. 5,000 ships. 15,000 aircraft. 150,000 men storming 5 beaches with names that will echo through time. Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, Sword. But none of it matters if they can't get past the mines. Mac looks at his team, 6 men in rubber and desperation, about to swim into darkness with a device that might save them or might be theater, a psychological crutch to make the unthinkable bearable. All right, he says. Let's go find out if we're heroes or just really good at getting lucky. They climb the ladder in silence. The deck above is slick with salt spray. The water beyond the rail churns like oil, black and infinite. Somewhere beneath that surface, the mines wait. Mac clips the lamp's power line to his harness, feels the slight hum of current through the housing. The red light glows faintly, almost invisible in the pre-dawn darkness. Light check, Hendricks says. Mac flicks the switch. The lamp flares red, casting bloody shadows across the deck. Still working, Mac confirms. For now, Bulldog mutters. They stand at the rail, 6 men about to drop into the cold, and for a moment no one moves. This is the moment when courage and fear are the same thing, when jumping becomes the only way forward because staying still means the men on those 74 ships die. Mac goes first. Always first. He sits on the rail, takes 1 breath of cold air, and rolls backward into the black. The water is a fist of ice. It crushes his chest, floods his mask, tries to force its way into his lungs through the rebreather. But Mac has done this too many times to panic. He equalizes, clears his mask, finds his depth, and waits. 1 by 1, the others drop in. 5 splashes. 5 ghosts in the dark. Mac reaches for the lamp and thumbs the switch. Red light blooms in the water like a wound. And somewhere below, in the minefield they cannot yet see, metal waits for flesh. The red light doesn't illuminate, it haunts. Mac holds the lamp ahead of him, watching the beam cut through the murk like a surgical knife through diseased tissue. Visibility is 8 feet at best. Beyond that, the English Channel becomes a wall of particulate darkness, silt and plankton and the ghosts of drowned men swirling in the current. Mac can hear his own breathing in the rebreather, a mechanical rasp, in and out, the rhythm of staying alive. Around him, the team fans into formation. Hendricks to his left, Bulldog to his right, the others behind in a staggered line. They've done this enough times to move like a single organism, 6 parts of one desperate machine. The depth gauge on Mac's wrist reads 22 feet. The seabed here slopes gradually toward the French coast, a underwater prairie that looks peaceful until you see what's planted there. The first mine appears like a tumor. Mac stops, raises his fist. The team freezes. It's a German TMB contact mine, a sphere of cast iron 3 feet in diameter, covered in pressure horns that look like obscene growths. Each horn is a lead tube filled with acid. When a hull or body strikes one, the lead bends, glass inside breaks, acid hits a carbon-zinc element, and the resulting current fires the detonator. 700 pounds of hexanite explosive converts water into a shockwave that can pulverize bone at 60 yards. This one floats 8 feet off the bottom, tethered by a chain that disappears into the silt. The chain means there are more. Mines in defensive fields are never alone. Mac moves the lamp closer, bathing the mine in red light. The photoelectric cell, if it's active, sits somewhere in the upper housing. Standard doctrine says white light at close range could trigger it. But red light? Red light is invisible to the trigger mechanism, or so Davies theorized over too many pints and too much desperate mathematics. Mac's hand is steady. His heart isn't. He swims closer. 5 feet. 4. 3. The mine sits in the red glow like a sleeping bomb. Which is exactly what it is. Nothing happens. Mac breathes out slowly, makes a mark on his slate, 1 mine, position logged, and signals the team forward. They glide past it like fish past a predator, every movement controlled, no rushed breath, no sudden motion that could disturb the water and set off a pressure trigger nearby. Brennan passes closest to the mine. Mac watches the kid's eyes go wide behind his mask, sees the pure animal terror that comes from being 3 feet from enough explosive to vaporize his body. But Brennan doesn't panic, doesn't flail. He swims past and keeps his breathing steady, and Mac makes a mental note, maybe this one will survive. They move deeper into the field. The mines appear with hideous regularity, every 30 to 40 feet, sometimes in clusters, sometimes staggered to catch boats turning to avoid the first. The Germans didn't just plant these, they choreographed them. This is a minefield designed by people who understand geometry and terror in equal measure. Mac uses the lamp on each one. Red light. No explosion. Red light. No explosion. Each time is a gamble. Each time the odds catch up a little more. 15 minutes in, they've logged 42 mines. 20 minutes in, 68. The sector they're clearing is 200 yards wide, 300 yards deep. At this density, there could be 500 mines waiting. Maybe more. And each one needs to be found, marked, logged, so the demolition teams behind them can set charges and blow a safe corridor for the landing craft. Mac's job isn't to defuse. It's to map the Garden of Death so others can uproot it. They're halfway through the field when Hendricks signals, something wrong. Mac turns. Hendricks is hovering near a cluster of 3 mines, all tethered to the same anchor point. He's pointing at something below them. Mac swims over, brings the lamp down. The anchor isn't standard. It's a pressure plate, a German T-mine, designed to sit on the bottom and detonate when something heavy passes overhead. Landing craft. Tanks. Or 6 men in diving gear. Mac's pulse spikes. These shouldn't be here. Intelligence said contact mines only. Nobody mentioned pressure plates. He signals, surface, now. But before they can move, the current shifts. It's subtle, just a change in the water flow as the tide begins its turn, but it's enough to stir the silt around the pressure plate. The plate shifts. Just an inch. And from somewhere in the darkness beyond the red light, Mac hears it, a soft metallic click. Time compresses. Mac's brain processes information in fractions of seconds that feel like hours. Secondary trigger. Delayed fuse. The Germans designed some pressure plates with anti-tampering mechanisms that activate if the plate moves without sufficient weight. It buys them 30 seconds to a minute before detonation, enough time to make sure anyone trying to defuse it becomes part of the explosion. Swim. Mac doesn't have a radio, doesn't have comms, but he doesn't need them. The team sees his eyes and understands. They scatter. Not up. Up is too slow, and the shockwave will catch them, but sideways, laterally, trying to get beyond the kill radius before the T-mine cooks off. Mac counts in his head. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. The lamp. He's still holding the goddamn lamp, and it's slowing him down, dragging against the water like an anchor. Drop it. Survival instinct screams at him. Drop it and swim. But without the lamp, the next team can't work. Without the lamp, men on those 74 ships die. Mac keeps swimming, red light trailing behind him like a comet. 7 Mississippi. 8 Mississippi. Bulldog Sullivan is ahead, swimming hard, his massive arms cutting through water. Hendricks is close behind. Rourke and Finch are spreading out, maximizing their chances. Brennan. Where's Brennan? Mac looks back. The kid is frozen. Not literally. He's swimming, but not fast enough, his movements panicked and inefficient, burning energy and going nowhere. He's still too close to the pressure plate, maybe 40 feet, well inside the kill zone. 12 Mississippi. 13 Mississippi. Mac makes a decision that might define his entire war. He turns back. Swims toward the mine instead of away from it. Toward Brennan. Move! He tries to shout through his rebreather, but it comes out as bubbles and desperation. He reaches Brennan, grabs him by the harness, and kicks hard. The lamp's weight fights him. The current fights him. Brennan's panic fights him. But Mac drags them both through the water with a strength that comes from somewhere beyond muscle, the place where men find reserves they didn't know they had because stopping means dying. 18 Mississippi. 19 Mississippi. They clear 60 feet. 70. 80. Mac pulls Brennan down flat against the seabed and covers the kid's body with his own. The world goes white. The explosion isn't loud underwater. It's something deeper, a physical force that rewrites reality. The shockwave hits like a truck, a wall of overpressure that compresses Mac's chest and tries to collapse his lungs. He feels his mask crack. Feels something in his ribs give. Tastes copper. The lamp is torn from his harness. He watches it tumble away into the dark, red light spinning, spinning, gone. The water around them becomes chaos. Silt and debris and fragments of the 3 contact mines the pressure plate was anchored to, all sympathetic detonation, all going off in a chain reaction of fury. Mac holds Brennan tight and waits for the secondary wave. It comes. Smaller. Bearable. Then silence. Mac's ears are ringing. Blood runs from his nose inside his mask. He can't tell if anything is broken, but he can move, so that's something. He looks for the others. Bulldog surfaces first, giving the OK signal. Then Hendricks, then Rourke and Finch. 5 of 6. Mac pulls Brennan up. The kid is conscious, terrified, but alive. 6 of 6. But the lamp is gone. Swallowed by the channel. The device that made this possible, that gave them the edge against the minefields, it's sitting on the bottom somewhere, or blown to fragments, or sinking into the silt. Mac surfaces. Breaks into cold air. Gasps. The Peregrine is a quarter-mile away, waiting. The sky is turning gray with coming dawn. Mac looks at his watch. 5:43. They've cleared maybe a third of the sector. Maybe. And now they have no lamp, no way to light up the mines without risking detonation. Hendricks surfaces beside him, pulling off his mask. Mac. The lamp. I know. We can't finish without it. I know. Brennan surfaces, coughing water. Sir, I'm sorry, I froze, Shut up. Mac isn't angry. Just tired. You're alive. That's what matters. They float in the cold, 6 men in the growing light, surrounded by a minefield they can't clear and a deadline that won't wait. In 7 hours, the invasion begins. And Mac has no idea how to finish what they started. The Peregrine's medical officer, a nervous lieutenant named Pembroke, wants to put Mac on bed rest. Cracked ribs, probable concussion, burst blood vessels in both eyes. Mac refuses. "I can still dive," he says, wincing as Pembroke wraps his torso with compression bandages. "You can barely breathe. Then I'll breathe less." Mac pushes himself off the examination table, steadies himself against the bulkhead. The room tilts slightly, then settles. "How long until next tide window?" 2 hours, Hendricks says from the doorway. "But, sir, without the lamp." "We'll figure it out." "With what?" "Good intentions and Bulldog's charm." "If that's what we've got." The situation is simple and catastrophic. The lamp is gone, either destroyed or lost in the silt, and they still have 2/3 of a minefield to map before the landing craft arrive. Command has been notified. Admiral Cunningham's response was predictable. Abort the mission, mark the sector as uncleared, reroute the landing forces to alternate beaches. But Mac knows what that means. The alternate beaches are narrower, more heavily fortified. More men will die on the sand because fewer can land at once. The entire timetable shifts. The war might shift with it. He's not built for strategic thinking, but he understands causality. What they don't clear today, soldiers pay for tomorrow. "What about white light?" Finch asks. "Standard diving lamps. Just move faster, minimize exposure time." "You'll trigger half the mines before you map a quarter of them," Bulldog says. "Photoelectric cells don't care about your exposure time. They care about whether you're stupid enough to illuminate yourself." "Could we work in daylight?" Brennan suggests. "Natural light might not trigger them the same way." "Natural light varies with depth and cloud cover," Max says. "Too unpredictable. And we'd be silhouetted against the surface, visible to any German scout plane that flies over. They'd radio artillery coordinates and pound the beach before we're done." They're in the Peregrine's wardroom, a cramped space that smells like coffee and defeat. Maps of the coastline are spread across the table, marked with grease pencil, cleared sectors in green, minefields in red. Their sector is a gash of red that cuts right through the planned landing zone. Max stares at the map. His ribs ache. His head pounds. But under all that is something else, an idea trying to surface. "Davies," he says suddenly. "What about him?" Hendricks asks. "When he built the lamp, he said the principle wasn't new. He said submariners have known about spectrum blindness for years. Used it for low-visibility navigation without giving away their position." "Submarines have generators and electrical systems," Rourke points out. "We've got rebreathers and knives. But we have battery-powered torches." Mac turns to Hendricks. "Emergency kit. Standard equipment. What do they use?" Hendricks thinks. "Tungsten filament bulbs. White light. Exactly what we can't use." "But what if we filter it?" The room goes quiet. "Filter it how?" Bulldog asks. Max starts moving, ignoring the pain in his side. He rummages through storage lockers, finds a box of signal flares. He cracks one open, examines the composition. "Flares burn with different colors depending on the chemical compound," he says, more to himself than to them. "Red is strontium salts. White is magnesium. If we can separate the compounds or dilute them." "You want to make a chemical filter?" Hendricks sounds incredulous. "Sir, with respect, you're not a chemist, and we don't have a laboratory." "No." Mac holds up the flare residue. "But we have paint." It takes them 20 minutes to raid the Peregrine stores and assemble what they need. Red signal paint used for maritime markers, adhesive cellophane from the medical supplies, 3 standard diving torches, and a small portable vise from the machine shop. The idea is insane. Disassemble the torches, coat the interior lens surface with multiple layers of red signal paint, seal them with adhesive cellophane, and hope the filtered light is dim enough and red enough to fool the photoelectric triggers. "This is going to fail spectacularly," Bulldog says, watching Mac apply the third layer of paint. "Probably. We could just wait for replacement equipment. Command could send another modified lamp." "Not in 2 hours they can't." Mac holds up the first torch, peers through it. The light is murky, blood-colored, weak. "This might give us 30 minutes. Maybe more. Or it might blow us all to hell." "That was always the plan, Bulldog." The modified torches are ready by 7:15. They look like children's arts and crafts projects, clumsy, improvised, held together by prayer and sticky cellophane. But when Mac switches one on, the light is red. Dark red, almost infrared, but red. "We test it on a mine first," Hendricks says. "Surface mine. If it detonates, we only lose the torch." "We don't have time," Mac counters. "Next tide window is now. We use them hot or not at all." Brennan looks like he wants to be sick. Rourke is already smoking his pre-dive cigarette, hands shaking slightly. Finch prays silently, lips moving. Bulldog stares at the makeshift torches with the expression of a man who has seen too many ways to die and knows he's about to find another. But no one refuses to go. They suit up again. Fresh rebreathers. New lead belts. The modified torches distributed. 2 for Mac, 1 for Hendricks, 1 for Bulldog, backups in waterproof pouches. Each torch has maybe 45 minutes of battery life. After that, they work blind or surface. The clock reads 7:38. "We've got one shot at this," Mac tells them on deck. "We go down, we light up as many as we can, we mark them, and we get out before the charge runs dry or Jerry realizes we're here. No heroics. No second chances. We map what we can and hope it's enough." "And if it's not?" Brennan asks. Mac doesn't answer. Because they both know, if it's not enough, men die on the beaches, and the invasion stumbles, and history changes in ways that might not favor the living. They enter the water. The cold is familiar now, almost comforting. Mac descends into the darkness with a modified torch clipped to his harness, untested, unproven, a gamble wrapped in red paint. At 20 feet, he switches it on. Red light blooms. Weaker than the lamp. More diffuse. But it's light. He swims forward, toward the minefield they half cleared, toward the darkness seeded with steel. The rest of the team follows. 5 shadows in red illumination, moving into the heart of what might kill them. The first mine appears, a TMB floater, horns glistening. Mac shines the torch directly on it. The mine sits quiet. No detonation. No explosion. The painted torch works. For now. Mac marks it and moves to the next. And the next. They work faster than before, driven by time and adrenaline and the fading battery life of improvised equipment. Mines appear like monuments in a graveyard, some on chains, some on the bottom, some in clusters designed to maximize carnage. 43 minutes into the dive, Mac's first torch dies. He switches to the second. Dimmer. The paint is wearing thin, or the battery is weaker, or both. But there's still light. Still red. 51 minutes in, Hendricks's torch fails. 62 minutes in, Bulldog's dies. Mac is alone now with the last torch, the last fragile beam of red light in the darkness. The rest of the team marks mines by touch, by proximity, by feel, a more dangerous game, but they've run out of other options. Mac's ribs are screaming. His vision blurs at the edges. He tastes blood in his rebreather but doesn't stop. Can't stop. Each mine he marks is a landing craft that survives. Each gap he charts is a soldier who walks off the beach instead of sinking beneath it. At 81 minutes, something changes. Mac sees it first, a disturbance in the water ahead, a different texture to the darkness. He swims toward it, torch raised, and then stops cold. It's not a mine. It's a cable. A thick armored cable running along the seabed, disappearing into the murk in both directions. Mac follows it with the torch beam. 10 feet. 20. It connects to a junction box. And from that box, more cables branch out, a web of connections leading to the mines themselves. His blood turns to ice water. These mines aren't independent. They're networked, wired together. Which means somewhere, someone has a detonator. A German engineer sitting in a bunker on the coast with a switch that can blow this entire field at once. It means the invasion plans are compromised. It means even if they clear the mines mechanically, the Germans can still trigger them remotely. It means everything they've done is worthless unless they cut the network. Mac signals frantically. Team up, emergency, now. They surface together in the gray morning light. The Peregrine is close now, engines idling. Mac rips off his mask and shouts across the water. Get command. Mines are wired. They can blow the field remotely. On the deck, confusion. Scrambling. Radio operators calling back to fleet headquarters. Hendricks treads water beside Mac. Jesus Christ. What do we do? Mac's mind races. Cut the cables? That's demolition work, requires charges, time they don't have. Trace them to the source? Could take hours. Alert the landing craft? They're already en route, moving toward beaches across a 100-mile front. And then Mac understands. We don't clear the mines, he says. We cut the network. How? We follow the cables to the junction box and destroy it. Without the junction, the remote trigger fails. The mines revert to independent contact mode. Then we just map around them like before. And if the junction box is guarded? Wired to blow. Then we swim very carefully. It's 9:17. The invasion begins in 4 hours. Mac doesn't wait for approval. He dives again. The torch is dying, the light barely red now, more a suggestion of illumination than actual visibility. But Mac follows the cable like a thread through a labyrinth, hand over hand, pulling himself along the seabed. The junction box is 60 yards from where they surfaced. It sits in a cradle of sandbags, protected, reinforced. 3 cables feed into it from different directions, 3 sections of minefield, all slaved to one detonator. Mac hovers above it, studying the casing. German engineering. Waterproof. Probably booby-trapped. Definitely beyond his expertise to disarm safely. So he won't disarm it. He pulls his knife, 8 inches of Sheffield steel, designed for cutting line and nets. He positions himself carefully, bracing against the seabed, and begins sawing through the first cable. The cable is armored, but armor is just layers of protection over a copper core. Mac saws. His ribs scream. His lungs burn. The torch flickers, dims, dies. Darkness. Mac keeps sawing. In the black, by touch, by faith, by desperation. The first cable parts. 1 down. He finds the second by feel. Starts sawing. His hands are numb. He can't tell if he's making progress or just rubbing steel against steel. The cable gives. 2 down. The third is deeper, harder to reach. Mac has to put his face inches from the junction box to angle the knife correctly. If there's a tamper switch, if the box is rigged to detect cable cuts, this is when it goes off. He saws. And saws. And the cable parts. Nothing explodes. Mac surfaces in a gasp of air and blood and exhaustion. The Peregrine's crew is waiting, hauling him aboard before he can protest. "Did you cut it?" someone asks. Mac can only nod. "All 3 cables?" Another nod. On the deck, wrapped in a blanket, ribs possibly broken, Mac watches the clock. 10:52. The landing begins in 2 hours. A radio operator runs up, breathless. Sir. Command confirms. Landing craft proceeding as planned to your sector. They're calling it Utah Beach now. You cleared it. Mac doesn't feel victorious. He feels like a man who just survived falling off a building and landed on a pile of razor blades. But alive. Somehow, still alive. And the mines, still there, still dangerous, but no longer a coordinated weapon. Just obstacles to be navigated. The modified torch, cracked and spent, lies on the deck beside him. A child's craft project painted red, the stupid improvised thing that somehow worked long enough. Mac picks it up, feels the weight of what they just accomplished with paint and hope and borrowed time. You should patent that, Hendricks says, sitting down beside him. Can't. It's off the record. What do you mean? Mac almost laughs. The lamp Davies built was already illegal. This thing? He holds up the painted torch. This thing doesn't exist. No paperwork. No authorization. Just us being stupid enough to try. And smart enough to succeed. Maybe. Mac drops the torch. Or maybe we got lucky 6 times in a row, and the war hasn't caught up yet. Bulldog Sullivan approaches, cigarette dangling. They're saying we saved thousands of lives. They don't know that. Neither do you. But I'll take the win. Mac closes his eyes. The Peregrine rocks gently. Somewhere beyond the horizon, 5,000 ships are moving toward France. Toward the beaches they cleared. Toward a war that will end or continue based on what happens in the next 12 hours. He thinks about the lamp, the real one, the one Davies built, sitting on the channel floor or blown to fragments. The one that made this possible. The one that never officially existed.